FAQ. Number one, FAQ. We get asked this a lot, and there's a lot of different nuances here. It's going to offend some people, isn't it? This topic, we can already tell, but fuck it. It needs, we're paid to be honest.
It's a controversial topic, but it's a good one to kick off with.
It is. Is it okay to pay to play? I.e., a paid fumble, is that okay? And there's lots and lots of different nuances here, and every man and his dog's going to have an opinion.
Absolutely. Now, obviously, what we're talking about here is it okay in the context of being somebody who is trying to improve themselves in terms of dating and social skills? Is it okay for that person to sometimes use professional services or to exclusively use professional services? Like, where are the lines that we draw around this stuff?
So one example where I'd say it's probably not okay, or where a change was needed, was a client I had in Colombia, very cool guy, still in touch with him. He basically was obsessed with banging escorts and pros.
Right.
And actually, during the training we did in Colombia, where he was getting some success, he actually came to me one day and was like, hand on the knee, he was like, Tusk, I've had a relapse. And he'd had like 5 pros to his hotel like the night, like 1 a.m. Like, yeah. But like, I obviously thought it was banter, but for him, it's like an issue. So in this circumstance, if you are kind of heavily using this as a process to meet women, and that's your sole outlet. That's your sole outlet. A bit like watching porn. He also happened to have PIED, which is porn induced erectile dysfunction, where you're basically so used to seeing 4K porn. Apparently, it's a chronic condition in the US. He was like, so no porn, no escorts. That's an example of a guy who needs to change his lifestyle because he's not doing anything else, right?
Yeah.
And we've talked about this before, but guys are like, oh yeah, but if you're banging hot girls, like, it doesn't matter if you're paying for them, you're desensitizing yourself to beauty. It's not actually true. It doesn't work like that.
It doesn't work like
that. You're doing the reversal, where you're actually pedestalizing them as the ultimate prize because you're paying money to get near them. So you're doing completely the reverse of what we're trying to.
But I think what we're chiefly addressing here, although there's a lot of different strands to this topic, but what we're chiefly addressing is the sort of game guru purity test, which is to say, if you know about social skills, if you know about social dynamics in game, then you never need to use prostitutes, and you shouldn't be using pay for play, because why would you? Because you can do game, and often you'll get, if it's the case of like a professional dating coach, and then he gets exposed that maybe he's used pros or something in the past, then that gets used as a stick to beat him with, because it's like, well, he must be not genuine, because if he's so great at doing game, then why would he need to do pay for play? And I think it's that particular thing that we're sort of interested in really getting to the bottom of here, because it's a very black and white view, isn't it? And it's not really reflective of reality.
Well, it's a bit of a microcosm. Like, I used to do it in a slightly different context, where I used to be prowling up and down Oxford Street doing day game, and I'm that guy banged a girl from night game, or because he's a promoter, or from Tinder and she was a hot girl. I'd almost be like, oh, he's cheating.
Yeah.
He's cheating the process. It's got to be day game curious only. You've got to be on Oxford Street putting in the hard yards. And that actually prevented me from traveling with this stuff, which is a massive regret of mine that I didn't start traveling earlier. It's a bit like this, isn't it? Where it's not black and white. I mean, you'll go into detail on this, but some of the guys I also know with some of the highest lay counts in the world, a number of those have been pros. Now, on a personal level, because guys like personal context, I've slept with prostitutes before. I never got to the point where I was just banging loads of prostitutes and it became an issue, and I was like, fuck, in order to get good with girls, I need to be stopping the prostitute thing. I always just did it for a laugh, like on a mate's stag do, or when in Rome, if you're out with a group of guys, you end up in that kind of position in a strip club where people are being propositioned. So I have done it a handful of times, and I don't give a shit personally. I don't judge anyone who does. Again, with the lens of trying to help guys in this industry, when I tend to come across it, when clients are being honest with me, is when they tend to have an over issue with it, where that's all they're doing. And in that circumstance, I think you need to kind of re-examine it.
I mean, I've also done it. I've always sort of been kind of attracted to that seedy side of life, the red light world and everything. And, it's something that, from time to time has come up, and, you can have a fun time with it and everything. But I think the key thing is it your main outlet? If it's your sole main outlet and that's all you're doing, that's one thing. Or if it's become some kind of an addiction, that's an issue that you need to look at. If it's something that you're doing sort of as a little bit of an added extra, then I personally don't see that much of a problem with it, because like you said, some of the guys that I know who have slept with the most women, and these are not people who work in this so-called industry, they're not people who have YouTube channels, these are just regular guys who nobody would know, but have very, very high success rates in terms of women and dating.
Ghost teacup, just slithering across the surface.
Those guys, almost to a man, have, as part of it, have slept with prostitutes. Now, that's not to say that those sleeping with the prostitutes counted towards his lay count or something. Remember, counting your lay counts and things, it's all a bit sad anyway. It's not really a good way to look at it. But this is like an adjunct. These are just very highly sexed guys. They really like it. They get a lot of attention anyway. And then sort of almost as an added extra, or sometimes for a laugh, they'll do a little bit of pay for play on top. And I don't see any issue with that at all. It doesn't detract from the man's proficiency in dating. In fact, it seems to be, what's the expression? It's a feature, not a bug. Do you know what I mean? It seems to be actually common to guys who are very, very successful with the ladies that they've also done a bit of pay for play, because it makes sense when you think about it. They're very highly sexed. They're very driven by their testosterone. And so, they're gonna do these different things. They're gonna experiment with different scenarios.
I mean, I know as well from operating at times. I've got some very well connected friends that are not again connected to this industry, but they're very successful business wise. They run turnaround management companies. Yeah. They're worth millions, right? And the kind of environments they hang out in. They're on a boat. Someone, the fucking whoever it is owns the boat. He's shipped in a load of girls. Yeah. No one's really asking them what the gig is here with the girls, which actually, in my experience, has created confusion with people before, because I've been with guys in this environment and they don't know how to act. And I'm a bit like, so are these pros, or are they pay for what's the deal here?
Yeah.
But a couple of times it seems to have been they're basically just being paid for. So anything has been kind of their wages for whatever their appearance fee has been taken care of. It's a big sum. And essentially, as a guy, you can go up and make stuff happen, and they're kind of just be open for it because they've essentially been paid for. Their bodies have been paid for, right? So in those circumstances where there's drugs involved, there's boozing, you're on a boat, there's stunning women, there's very high value men, it just descends into carnage. Yeah. And, probably you could say, technically, those are all pros. But it's a grey area line as well. And just like there's so many nuances. I mean, again, This isn't a pro-prostitution chat we're having, but we just want to make it clear there's no black and white.
It's very much more nuanced than people will present it online. And people often, and it often tends to be, you get sort of interwars between dating coaches and people with YouTube channels and things. And there will be somebody who will say, well, look at so-and-so. We've discovered that he used a prostitute. So therefore, that must mean that he's a fake. That must mean that because he's had to pay for it. And there's a failure of logic there.
Well, and also, I'm thinking of Thailand, right, where I've shacked up with some local girls. The only ones worth their salt that I've slept with have been girls that they're not streetwalkers. They haven't said my price is blah, blah, blah for 2 hours. But it's nuanced within the club. You're in a club. It's not necessarily a pro club. It's just a normal club. And you go home with the girl and she expects something from you. She expects a small gift, or she expects you to take care of breakfast, or she expects the equivalent of £5. And it's just the culture, right? So even within different environments, you've got different cultural nuances. And I've banged girls in Thailand like that. Do I feel like that was full-blown prostitution? There's many shades of grey here. And as you said, look, it's not a clear-cut thing.
Well, so you've had those experiences. Does that detract one iota from your understanding of game and male-female dynamics and your ability to teach this stuff?
Well, I mean, some people would say, but some purists will go, yeah, absolutely does.
But they're wrong.
Because outlawing everything you've ever done just because you've done that. No, I agree.
But they're wrong, aren't they? Because I'm
just playing devil's advocate. Yeah. But there are some people that are hardliners, they're black and white. Yeah. As we know from discussing red pill and black pill, nothing in this fucking world is black and white. There's many layers, there's many levels. Now, are we sitting here going, all you should be doing is banging pros? Absolutely not.
No, because as maybe somebody's already made the point, but the truth is that in most cases, the actual experience of being intimate with a prostitute is just not as satisfying as it is when you're with a woman who's genuinely attracted to you. And I think we can all agree there. I mean, there are some great lines there. Sometimes some experiences are better than others, but in general, Really, I think most guys want to meet a woman that is genuinely aroused by them and attracted to them and wants to be with them. And it's not some sort of fiscal exchange.
Oh, well, that's exactly the point. And me and Sam touched upon this before jokingly, but it's actually, in my experience, pretty true. You need three things for a kind of satisfying, seduction in this process, which is the chase.
Yeah.
So that seduction dance on both sides.
Yeah.
Both parties want to be there, and but it won't happen. Obviously, the sex itself, and then the emotional connection. Actually, spending time with someone on both sides of the spectrum, her for you and you for her, where you actually enjoy each other's company.
Yeah.
And if one of those is missing, then typically it is unsatisfying, and that's the reason, as a whole, the prostitution industry doesn't solve dating problems.
It doesn't.
For men,
Yeah, it
because
doesn't.
you're missing the chase and you're missing that emotional connection. The chase, the bang, the snuggles, we call it, tongue in cheek. But you're missing the snuggles. You're missing the chase. But
It doesn't solve the problem. But that's not to say it's something that it comes down to, is your life in order or not? If your life is in order in the sense that you're well put together. You've got some social nous, some social acumen. You can meet people in the normal way. You can interact with people in the normal way. And then, maybe you're feeling a bit horny and an opportunity arises and you just go and do it. Is that a bad thing? I would say no. If it's a crutch and you're relying on it because everything is so out of whack in your life that that's your only option, then that's when you need to be looking at your fundamentals.
I agree. Line up the questions here, guys, because there's actually some quite cool interrelated questions that we will go into. We just want to kind of cover this up as much as we can. So when would we actually be saying to guys, you should go and see a pro?
All right, well,
I've had situations like this before. Most of the guys who watch my channel will have seen the transformation we did with Alex from Portugal, where he was a virgin. We didn't hire a pro for him. He ended up sleeping with a girl on the last day. It was, we've got the whole check out Alex playlist, Alex Masculinity Recharge on my channel. It's all there, warts and all. And it worked out beautifully because he actually, well, not beautifully, he did the stupid thing of booking a 16-man dorm. And I had to give him my room in my house to convert it with the girl. So he lost his virginity. But when is it okay or when would we actually be saying to a guy, go to a pro, go to a professional, go to an escort?
I think probably there's two cases. I think if you are if you are somebody who you haven't lost your virginity, it's become this massive issue in your mind. You aren't really getting traction in the dating market, and something needs to give. Then I would say for those guys, absolutely. Why not? Just go there and do it, and at least get over that hurdle. So I think that's fine.
Get the monkey off your back.
Exactly.
I agree, because it becomes such a big deal after a certain age for men. I mean, again, it's male pressure on male pressure.
It's the old 44-year-old virgin thing, isn't it? I mean,
it is. It's just such pressure, but just get it. I actually think I'm a big advocate of get it done. Now, does that mean we've been actively saying every guy that we meet who's a virgin and just going, come to our whorehouse, get laid with one of our birds, get a referral fee? No.
Again, it's all about nuance, guys. And this is the thing. YouTube, social media, people don't understand that everything is very nuanced. It's not just one size fits all. But yeah, I think in that instance, and then sort of the other side of the equation, I would say if you're a guy and you pretty much got this side of life together, and you're getting dates naturally anyway. You have girlfriends, you have one night stands, you have mini relationships, whatever. Maybe you travel a bit. Then if you fancy doing a bit of pay for play on top, I mean, we're not the morality police here, are we? I mean, why not?
No, I've always kind of tongue-in-cheek said, look, 90% cold approach when guys ask, 10% strippers, cocaine, Tinder, escorts, or pros. I don't give a shit. As long as 90% of what you're doing is actually going and interacting with other people, improving those flirting, emotional, and social intelligence skills. Yeah, whatever you do behind closed doors, I don't give a fucking monkey.
Yeah, I mean, who cares?
I'd actually encourage guys. I think every guy should go to some sex parties at some stage. That's not really the same, is it? But you're paying an entrance fee as a guy. Aren't you paying a subscription to have access to this? There are nuances. I mean, there are probably. We go into nuances. I mean, there are sex parties, including in Berlin, where there are some paid for women there as well. So you do get these grey areas. But I think sex parties are slightly different because in general, that's a bit more about meeting people who are down for it. But the other point to make is everything in some format, and this isn't us trying to justify prostitution, the world's oldest profession, but everything with a woman in some format is a value exchange, isn't it? On some side. So whether you're, we were joking about it the other day, going the hellish time sink that is first dates, but you could argue actually attention and time, which are taken by women on dates that go nowhere,
Yeah.
It's more of a fucker than just paying better money.
Well, it's the old expression, with prostitution, you're not paying for the sex, you're paying for them to leave afterwards, which is, kind of true. But
so just to touch on this question, because it is relevant, what is better, paying for escorts or prostitutes, or learning and mastering a game? Obviously, learning and mastering game, because it's social and emotional intelligence skills. It's applicable to your life as a human being, having to interact with a number of human beings, of which 8 billion inhabit the same rock as you.
Yeah.
Right? But as a side, so 90% approaching, if you want to get up to whatever you want to do 10% of the time, neither of us have a personal issue with that.
Not at all. There is, we should also at least mention the other ethical side to this as well, which is, why are these women in this situation in the first place? Are they there, at their own behest, etc., etc.? Obviously, we're not condoning, paying for women who are in some sort of terrible position and they're being forced into that position. Of course, that's not what's being recommended here in any means at all. That's absolutely terrible. So you want to do your due diligence with these things, but as I say, the key focus of this discussion is more on the other side of it. Like, when is it healthy for the guy to take advantage of those services or not? But I just think it's worth just highlighting that.
Are there any other kind of, if you've got questions related specifically to this, guys, we will prioritize them, because this is the topic. This is a frequently asked question we get from guys going, is it okay if I do this? Blah, blah, I'm in this position, blah, blah, blah.
Well, one thing to say is, of course, you will frequently get stories about movie stars and high-end celebrities who have been sleeping with prostitutes, been caught with hookers and things like this. And
he lives with porn stuff. So if you look at Colin Farrell before he sobered up, they made a kind of a bill of his drugs and alcohol per week and the amount he spent on prostitutes. He'd only bang pros because he couldn't be bothered with the hassle.
So this is an important point, right? Because the naysayers and some of the black pill guys and everything would say, well, look, if a man's high value enough, he wouldn't need to. So therefore, if somebody does overpay, that signals that they have no skills or they have no value because they wouldn't need to. But that's just clearly not true, because otherwise, why would these high value men pay for these services, right? And I think the reality is, if we're all honest, it's kind of, it's part of that rough and ready side to masculinity, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? Like you said, perhaps these guys are in a situation where, of course they could go out and they could meet women by other means, but they can't be bothered. They haven't got the time. Maybe they're too high or they're too drunk, right? So there's an element of convenience there. So again, it's this idea that these things are black and white, that if you've ever paid, then you have zero gain, is logically it doesn't hold. It's just nonsense.
No, it's nonsense. And I don't know why guys seek such black and white terms, really.
Yeah.
What is the point? I guess to simplify everything.
I suppose so, yeah.
Right or wrong, but, with this, it's not so simple. As many things in life, it's not so simple.
Yeah. And ultimately, in the end, it comes down to maximizing your pleasure, you're maximizing your experiences in the world. And I mean, if a part of that is a bit of pay for play, then really, who is anyone else to object? The main objection is if it becomes a problem, or if it becomes something that you rely on. Because if it does, that probably signals that there's other elements of your life that are out of whack.
I agree. It's a bit like substance abuse. It's a bit like anything. You go over the top with anything, right?
Yeah, and also, like we've said, pay for play is just never as good. Really.
It's never as good. And yeah, look, I completely agree with this guy here, whatever he said, saying, crusty. Said, best sex I've had with women I picked up in real life and had genuine interest in me. I agree with you, 100%.
Yeah, that's absolutely
what we really
true.
wanted to just go through is some nuances where it's not so black and white. 90% cold approach, 10% do what the fuck you want. As far as I'm concerned, live and let live. When it's a real issue, it's when you're only doing this and you need to be learning cold approach. You need to stop this. And also, is it okay if you're a virgin to bang a pro? I think if there's a lot of self-generated pressure and you're not really taking action and it's a big deal for you, I actually think get the monkey off your back. Who gives a shit, personally?
What about a guy then who's somewhere in the middle, who he's not a virgin and he's been getting some action, but he's not really, his dating life still isn't kind of where he'd want it to be. So it's not like he's a no-hoper, a complete no-hoper, but he's not getting the regularity of dates. Would you say to that guy, yeah, every so often you can do it? Or would you say to that guy, I mean, maybe there's there could be an argument to say don't.
Yeah,
because it would give you
It's almost like saying to guys, like, not quasi-religious, no fat experts here, but you know yourself better than someone else. And if wanking every day drains that motivation to go out, I'd probably argue don't wank. And same with this, if you know that banging a few pros is going to completely put you off going out chasing women in real life, I would say don't do it.
Yeah, because then it's going to give you that get out clause whereby you think, well, I've got my twice monthly visit to to the hookup to the hookup place, so I don't need to bother to approach, and that obviously is a bad thing because you need to have that motivation.
Yeah, I agree, Alex. Again, I agree with you. A woman who has a genuine desire for you it's not even in the same league as transactional. Completely agree. Part of the beauty of seduction is that feeling of being wanted. Really, that's what we crave as men, isn't it? As much as women.
Yes.
Hartis wrote an article called "The Girl Notch," where he basically says, like, a notch for a bloke is obviously you actually sleep with a girl. A notch for a girl is knowing she could sleep with you. But to a large degree, men thrive off that as well. You're sitting in that validation of having a hot girl there who actually wants to be there. That's a big thing. Right?
Yeah, it's really, really the key thing, I think. Which is why, I mean, pay-for-play experiences can be variable. Some can be better than others, etc. But in general, probably even a very low value, genuinely reciprocal, thing with a girl is going to be better than a pay-for-play.
Crozzies, hell no. If you're a millionaire, your time is valuable. Get a sugar baby.
Well, again, there's another nuance to it, isn't there?
Why would you get a sugar baby though? Because isn't the
Can we get some more water, please?
Isn't the beauty of or isn't the hustle of being a sugar baby? You get all these gifts, but you don't actually put out. It's that part.
I assume he's talking about when it puts out.
Yes, we did decide to get vaccinations to make traveling easier, but also we're not going to open that bag of anti-vax or pro-vax. We just don't give a shit about it.
Thanks, Bill.
I ain't paying for that shit.
Thank you.
Oh, here we go. I knew it would alienate people. I ain't paying for that shit. Have some self-respect, Tusk and Troy. Look, live and let live, man. I don't judge you for judging us, and I don't judge you for... It's not about self-respect. Like, we teach and we travel and we approach more than every man and his dog probably on planet Earth minus COVID.
It's also not about us. I mean, we're not talking about ourselves. We've both said that we've done it in the past.
In the issue of trying to always be honest, this industry is a lot of smoke and mirrors, and we always love it or hate it. We always try and speak as honestly.
I think here's the thing, right? This is an issue. This is an issue for men, whether we like to admit it or not. This is an issue that many men have in their life, one way or the other. So I have two friends. One friend of mine is on a very, very low income. He gets a small amount of money every couple of weeks, and about every 2 weeks, he'll use some of that money to go and sleep with a prostitute. That's just his bag. I mean, I keep telling him he shouldn't. The money could be better spent elsewhere, but that's what he does. And then I've got another friend who's very high value, who makes a lot of money and gets lots and lots of girls. He's got a girlfriend now, so he's kind of out of the game. But previously, he got lots and lots of girls. He wasn't a game guy or anything like that. Just very suave, very smooth, very popular with the ladies. But sometimes, as an add-on, he would also, just for convenience, just for novelty, just for whatever, he'd also go and hire a high-class escort as well. Do I judge either of those people? No. Hell no. Why would I? And why would anybody else on this stream, to be honest? That's just two guys that I happen to know. I mean, I think if we're honest, a lot of guys have in one form or another grapple with this issue. So we're just trying to discuss it and just be open and kind of like a little bit realistic about it, I think.
That's a good comment. Kind of want to earn it. Nothing wrong with it, though. I mean, that's kind of my sentiment as well.
Unless you're just some like dyed-in-the-wall moralist who's sitting there and, you're just very uncomfortable with it.
One of my friends told me he lost his virginity to an escort. He says no regrets. Tusky and Troy went out solo tonight and can feel like a bloody failure. What's a good way to reframe this? Well, again, if this is a pattern where you're not going out and pulling a muscle lever, I would say get in touch with us for some objective feedback on what you're doing. There's probably some areas you can shore yourself up. I ain't paying for that shit unless it's a big booty hole. I want to see you all do a direct approach. go back to every single one of our videos, minus 2 or 3 that we've done over the last 28 days. Myself and Troy have been in Russia, and check out all the content we've been doing. Live stream approaching. So go and have a look at all that stuff.
First people ever to do it.
Yeah. Have you ever been to Thailand, Pattaya, or Phuket? Yes, I've been to Pattaya and Phuket. Again, grey area there. I mean, I ended up banging a couple of girls. One of them asked for money, one of them didn't. But it wasn't like go down the street, oh, are you a pro? You know, this is my price list, 20 minutes, like the Amsterdam transactional red light district version.
I mean, if we're being purely selfish, if we're being objectivist and thinking about it purely on what am I going to derive the most pleasure from, then the truth is you're going to derive more pleasure from meeting girls non-transactionally. You're going to derive more pleasure and satisfaction from meeting girls in the normal way or through, cold daytime approach or whatever, right? Prostitution is always going to be somewhat less pleasurable. So just from a purely selfish point of view, you want to think, well, actually, I want to improve my social skills because I don't want to be reliant on something that is essentially substandard.
Because we're agreeing with you. We think when you've got that chase on both sides and you've kind of earned the girl, it is more
it is, but no doubt,
no shadow of a doubt there. But then sometimes you just want to get your rocks off, extreme pleasure. And what's wrong with just hiring 5 girls, just sitting on a boat with a load of party powder and in the fucking an island off Colombia? Nothing. Equally,
just because there's a great steak restaurant in your hotel, it doesn't mean you don't fancy going out for a dirty McDonald's every night.
That's my way to put it. Yes, I did get drugged by a prosie in Brazil. It was quite a funny story. I was in Sao Paulo, getting shown around by a guy I'm now friends with. He was living there, and we got absolutely fucking star-spangled bannered. We got hammered. He was like, I'm going home. I was like, I want to stay out. And I ended up wandering in one of the only place open. I didn't really know it at the time. It was a seedy bar with kind of seediest girls, but I just thought it was like a late night bar. It wasn't like a pro house with beds. But I found out in hindsight it's where pros will hang out and just kind of do their thing. Got chatting to a girl, blah, blah, blah. And at some point, I remember a guy coming up and blowing like powder on my face. And I think it was this drug that Vice had done a documentary on called scalopamine. It's like this zombie drug. And basically, you just turn into a bit of a zombie and you can just be ordered around and stuff. And woke up the next day, looked around me. I was in some fucking room, naked. I looked up and bleary-eyed at the end of the bed was the person from last night just smoking a cigarette, casually watching. I was like, fuck, this is weird. Check my balls. Okay, they're still there. Check my pockets. Unbelievably, my phone and my passport, because I had a flight to Vegas that day to help with the bootcamp, my phone and my passport and my wallet are in my pocket, all cards there. I was like,
amazing.
What's going on? This is weird. So she was like, should we go for a drink? And I was like, fuck, I've got to get on a flight to Vegas. All right, I've got half an hour. So we went and got a drink. I got in a taxi, went off. In the taxi, opened my phone, turned my phone on and saw this Monzo notifications, basically saying my Monzo account had been cleared out. So what had happened is, I think she'd walked me to the ATM when I'm in this kind of hypnotic state and I punched in my PIN code and she'd just done it multiple times.
Yeah.
Something like 3-4 grand was gone. But then Monzo Legends got in touch with Karen from the Scunthorpe branch or wherever she is from and explained the story, and they refunded me the money.
Really?
Got the money back. And I got on the plane, and you know what I thought? And in terms of robbery, I put myself in a bad position. I was on a bit of a self-destructive one. She could have absolutely done me over. She didn't have to stay with me. She didn't have to stay in the room. It was a respectable robbery, and I actually texted her going, "Oh, thanks for letting me keep my passport and phone." It sounds ridiculous, but it's true.
Which I just think something.
Because if she had taken my passport and phone and all my cards, I'd have been fucking screwed. But she didn't. So it was a clean robbery. I got the money back. Everyone's a winner, really.
What a beautiful end to the story. What a happy ending.
So do go to pros in Sao Paulo. Is the moral of the story. We've got some questions hammering in here. This is obviously quite an interesting topic, and I'm glad we've addressed it because maybe we do need to kind of go into these kind of grey area topics that people kind of want to avoid because they're dirty topics.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. And also as well, people are very disingenuous about this stuff, or they're not really honest, or they're very moralistic about it. And I mean, to be honest, if you're in this space and you're watching our videos and then you're being like overly moralistic,
especially about the travel.
Yeah.
We've been doing this from different countries. I mean, my banner has a passport, foreign money, and condoms on it. Yes, we're traveling. Like, and people are getting.
We'll have to do another one.
How dare you
Yeah.
be traveling, Tusk? Like I haven't been traveling for the last 4 years.
Yeah, we'll have to do one about is it okay to travel? Spoiler, yes.
Stuart Biggs, Russian visa. Do you not also need £100 proof of funds for every day of your visa? So a year being 36k. No, you go into the visa, the embassy in London if you're from the UK. Get in touch with a company called Visit Russia. You go in, they do it all for you. Bob's your uncle, £700. That's it. No questions asked. Straight through at the border.
You don't need any proof of funds, and I don't believe you do we've got a business visa, but I don't think you do even for a tourist visa either. I know that Russians do coming into the UK for some reason, but we don't.
We have some sweet arrangement. I don't know why, but it works fine for us. Hey, Tuscan, Troy, any advice for a 25-year-old black guy, 5'11", athletic build, who has a stutter? Should I deal with my speech before even trying to pursue women, or do both? I think do both.
Do both.
You have these actors, don't you, where you see them in interviews and they're stuttering away.
Yeah.
But for their role, they've learned to be on form. So you could almost alter ego affect it, where during the time when you're socializing with women,
you become that different character.
Become this different character, and the stutter goes out the window. Stranger things have happened. Get in touch with us. We can help you with that process. Massage places are quite nice. You get snuggles and a happy ending from Krusty. Hello, guys. Quick question. I know a few girls, but they want to know each other. I want to get with both, but I don't know how to go about it. Haha, because I know women talk. Well, are you talking about you want a threesome, or?
I think he means dating concurrently. Yeah, it's a tricky one, really, because they probably will talk if they know each other.
But no, again, that's that misnomer thinking that if women know that you're banging other women, they're not going to want you. Remember, pre-selection is a powerful force. If women see you with other beautiful women, they will almost skip the process of trying to find out themselves why you're wanted by other women and just have sex with you, because they take the opinion of other women very seriously. So don't try and hide it. It doesn't actually matter. Think of the rock star effect. Do you really think that, 10,000 women screaming, for this rock star, that, one girl is put off by the other 9,999? No, it increases her desire.
True.
Right?
True.
Pre-selection.
I mean, Harry Styles isn't going to get knocked back because.
Oh my God, you slept with my friend Brenda last week. There's no way I'm going to bang you. Like, come on. Like, he's probably banging them both at the same time.
Wearing a dress. Which is fine.
Like me at uni.
There is a really British thing for dressing in women's clothing, isn't there?
What I love is the one point you guys touched on that most people leave out. It's not black and white. It's a lot of grey, as is most of the stuff we talk about. It's not black and white.
Yeah, exactly. And you look at the whole, the looks, money, status versus game debate, it shouldn't really be a debate at all. And it's like, no, it's all about looks. No, it's all about game. Of course, the truth is somewhere in the middle. It's the same with this stuff.
In Canada, a lot of women choose escort because it's liberating for them.
Funnily enough, in Berlin as well, there's a little bit of that, because Berlin's in many ways, a very liberal, quite a feminist left-wing city, actually. But there's a big sex trade there as well. The two things sort of coexist, and it's seen as being quite liberating for the women who are, a part of that industry.
Would you say buying a girl gifts is pay for play?
Not right. It depends the level of gifts you're buying. I mean, I've never really bought gifts to the level that I think it would be considered that.
What you don't want to be doing is buying women loads of gifts, expensive gifts, and you're not sleeping with her, because that's forming the wrong dial.
I have heard of guys who have met girls in London in expensive stores, and then they've dated, and then the girl said, oh, I need a new laptop, I need a new phone, I need a new iPad, that, and the guys bought it for them. That kind of thing is very, very, you don't want to be doing that. But I personally have never really bought gifts for a girl unless I've been seeing her and it's been her birthday or something. Or, whatever.
Do you guys see a difference between massages with happy ending and full-on prostitution? Good question.
It's the same. Well, I mean, it's the same thing, really, isn't it?
But you're just disguising it for yourself, aren't you? Really? Oh, I'm going in for a massage. Oh, shit. It just happened and I'm going
It's sexual release that you're paying for, really. I mean, ultimately.
Yeah, the more we talk about this, the more, again, I'm not promoting everyone should be banging booze, but the more I just don't give a fuck. I don't even know what's the topic, really.
Well, it's
like what people get up to in their spare time. Who gives a shit?
Yeah.
What we're trying to encourage you to do is get out and practice your approaching skills.
I mean, maybe I've just met a load of very unreputable characters in my life, but this is something I think in male-to-male conversations, it gets, people will acknowledge it, and it's something that guys do, and it's something that they have very different attitudes to, right? But it seems like you mentioned this stuff on YouTube, and then all of a sudden everyone's really moralistic about it, like, oh my God, you can't do that. It's like, come on. In the real world, people are doing this stuff, and why not talk about it? Why not just be honest about it?
This is less of a disgrace, and again, not to piss off anyone Catholic, but we all know the stereotypes about Catholic priests and kids. This is far less of a kind of a closet thing, right? A follow-up after my friend got laid for the first time with an escort. He said he made it approaching. He said made it approaching easier for him.
That is possible, right? Because it's demystified sex to some extent, you know.
We've got a compliment here for your books. Really enjoyed your prolific writing on Return of the Kings, Troy. Amazing stuff. Have you got an ebook that summarizes your literary work?
Thanks, man. Well, I do actually have. There's a Renegade Dating Domination. I'll put the link for it in the description. Is actually a collection of all of the articles, or most of the best articles that are on Return of Kings. So you got that, and you've got my other books as well. Renegade Dating Blueprint, which is a collection of 11 of them. Again, I can leave a link, but yeah, lots of stuff out there.
Someone asked about ladyboys in Thailand. What I would say is they tend to be the most striking and most beautiful ones. Unfortunately, they wile you in. They're also very Machiavellian. They know how to play the game. We know guys. There's a documentary on BBC. Yeah, you have guys, straight guys, going out there and falling in love with ladyboys. And I've actually had a friend from uni who only bangs ladyboys now. But I said, so do you consider yourself gay? He's like, no, I just have this thing for ladyboys. I don't know. I tell you what, one story I can tell you about that was when I did go on a date with a girl, and she was stunning. And I got her back to the hotel, and you know, she sits on the bed. You know, I stand up. You know, and I go to pull her trousers off, and out flops this fucking baby's arm holding an apple. And she was like, "Surprise, Mr. James!" And I was like, "Oh, Tim Tam." Her name was Tim Tam or something like that.
You got
so
me.
You got me. You almost had me. But she's like, "Mr. James, we had extra sausage for broth." Or extra sausage for party. I was like, "Oh, you're always happy to the And again, I wasn't angry.
No,
I just led her downstairs and went, "Go on, be on your way." You know, I like you almost had me. Like I didn't hold against her. I was like, it's a hustle, right? She almost had me.
Again, and I mean, again, we're straying to a different topic there, talking about talking about that. But I mean, again, I've got a mate who is very successful with women. He's like a bit of a geezer. He's like, yeah, fucking, you know, like, yeah, up the apples and pears, bit of knife and fork, you know. And he gets a lot of women, a lot of attention from women. He's kind of rich. He's got the looks. He's got, you know, blah blah blah, holidays in Dubai. And he said to me that a couple of times he's like, yeah, you know, I just, you know, I did a ladyboy the other, and ladyboy prostitutes actually. So that makes it relevant, I suppose, to this. Yeah, I did a ladyboy the other night. You know, bit of variety. You know, just get a bit bored with the same old. You know what I mean? And it's like, is he gay? No. But it's just ultimately, I don't really care what people do, to be honest. Do you?
No,
I just like, what is it? Who cares?
I agree. It's live and let live, as far as I'm concerned. We've got another question. What's your view on coming before you make big decisions relating to women as you see more clearly? I actually think it's a bizarre question, but I know what he means. Sometimes you can be craving banging so much, can't you?
Yeah.
But it becomes all consuming. You can't actually focus on anything you're doing throughout the day.
Yeah.
So I think if you've gone a period without having sex and you're not really approaching, there's nothing on the horizon, nothing wrong with having a cheeky hand shandy just to clear the mind. Because you have that little death afterwards, and after that you go, fuck it. And you actually have massive clarity. You realise how much mental energy we do waste thinking about chasing girls and banging.
You do get it.
So it's that kind of, it's a bit of a seesaw.
You do get that massive sort of clarity afterwards, so it can be worth doing if you're getting really hung up over a particular because the sexual drive, it can lead you to make decisions that are probably not the right decision, including even something like, oh, shall I stay up until 2 a.m. because I've got an opportunity to meet this girl after the party, when actually the juice probably isn't worth the squeeze often. Exactly.
You build up this image, this rose tinted glasses image, don't you? In
Yeah.
your brain. And you're like, fuck, it wasn't really worth it.
Did I tell, actually, by the way, that I was approached by a prostitute in this very hotel last night?
Really?
Did I tell you? So she was sitting over there. So I came back into the hotel, and there was this woman sitting on her own. And she, as soon as I walked in, she smiled, big smile and big like flashing eyes and everything. So I thought, I'll go say hello. So I walked over. I was like, oh, how's it going? You know, my name's Troy. And she said, I'm Christine, or whatever the name was. And she said, I do very good Thai massage. And I thought, that's a slightly odd thing to proffer quite so early in the conversation. And then I was like, oh, wait a minute, you're a professional, aren't you? And she said, or just sex. And so I said to her, no, I'm a virgin. And she didn't understand what I meant. So I put it on Google Translate. I wrote, I'm a virgin, and showed it to her. And she's like, oh, you're joking. And I was like, no. And I wrote on Google Translate, I'm a virgin, and I'm looking for a wife to pop my cherry with, and showed it to her. And she was like, and she was just looking at it confused, and I just walked off. She wasn't that great anyway, to be honest. But it's kind of funny because even when you're in a relatively sort of high-end hotels. Actually, you get a lot of these women hanging around, don't you? And they're just there to snare drunken businessmen.
So this goes the other way. So we've got prostitution on the one side, which is us men paying for sex, right? It's the ultimate kind of pedestalization of women in some respects. It's the ultimate pedestalization of beauty and fertility. The other side of it is your iceberg slims, where it's almost like the male, extreme power holder rather than the girl giving her body. It's sort of the guy, the pimp, right? So, in my opinion, I'm from Romania. Pimp mentality says you've got to make her invest money, time. You are the prize. If you pay for it, it's called a trick.
That is true. I mean, yes, there's truth in that. That is true.
So how does it how can we get a corollary going on with actually kind of lessons? It's just slightly different, but lessons from that kind of. You don't want to be a real dark triad, iceberg slim. The story of my life, kind of beating women with coat hangers and all this stuff, and really like being Machiavellian and dark triad to the nth degree. But is there something to be said for almost, what lessons can be learned from the other side of the extreme?
Well, I think that's a different stream, to be honest. Because I think because it's dark, because that's all about the dark triad. He's absolutely right, and that's all about the dark triad stuff. But what I would say is, if you are Leonardo DiCaprio in Wolf of Wall Street, or if you are what's his name in the original Wall Street, or if you're one of those guys, right? If you're doing a bit of pay for play on the side, you don't really care. You don't care if Sheila from bloody Queens thinks you're the trick. You just don't give a damn, right? You give her the money, she does the job, and she goes. And I think that's the attitude to it. Now, it doesn't mean that those guys aren't very dominant in other aspects of their life, or indeed in other relationships with women. But again, high value men will sometimes use pay for play for the convenience. Amongst other reasons. And I don't think, frankly, they're that bothered whether this random woman who they pay for her services thinks that they're the trick. Now, you could then argue, you could say, yeah, but it's all about his mental frame. But I think the mental frame is, I'm a boss, I do what the hell I want. And if I want fast food, I'm going to pay for fast food because it comes quickly.
I tend to agree with you. And I think actually what would be a really interesting stream would be lessons to be taken from someone like Iceberg Slim.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
we're not talking about it in terms of really manipulating and fucking people over, but what are some actual things that nice guys could instill into their repertoire, maybe from him to leverage over? Not the beating with coat hangers.
No, of course not. But I mean, no, completely. The dark triad stuff is real. It's a thing. The pimp thing is real. It's definitely a thing. But I don't think that it's. I think it can coexist with this as well. I don't think the two things are massively. It's just like different requirements for different period, different times.
I'm in the United States. I went full on escorts for a month. I left the dating game a long time ago. Dating is shite these days.
Well, that's the other way, isn't it? That's going MGTOW, essentially.
Get out the US, I would say. I like your day game videos. You guys ever get blown off right away? Only in Thailand.
If you're very lucky.
Yeah. Ironically, they didn't even give you a chance to talk. Of course.
If you go to Torture Garden.
Of course. Yeah, of course we there's the most popular videos on my channel, me getting rejected, type in rejections. And they are the most popular videos.
Well, right? just look back at some of the live streams we've done over the last few days. I mean, it's a bunch of blowouts.
Of course, they get blown off. Everyone does, right? Let's retitle it as blowouts.
In England, we say blown out because blown off it has a different implication.
And yeah, we get rejected most of the time. It's true. Cold steel. That's what I was talking about when I mentioned letting a woman participate during a date. For example, going on a hike, doing a workout. She would be investing energy. Yes, she's investing, I guess, physical energy, but. Look, a woman is investing her time when she comes on a date with you, right? Time is the most valuable asset for all human beings, male or female. Women are a lot more, in my experience, kind of blunt and straight edge and razor with this stuff. If they don't want to be with a guy, look at her actions, not her words. If she's not replying to your text, I hate to break it to you, however much she seemed into it in the conversation, she's not that interested. If she's dodging date requests, hate to break it to you, she might say otherwise on text, but look at her actions, not words. She's not that into you.
I get the logic of this, but there's something deeply unsexy about going on a hike. Am I wrong? I don't know.
No, you're not wrong. It's the sort of thing you do is like when you, I don't know.
Well, when you're boyfriend and girlfriend and it's like, oh, let's go to the Cotswolds for the weekend and stuff. Yeah. But it's just like, I'll get your hiking boots on, love. It's I don't know. It just
It stemmed from the old adage of like do the first venue in a bar and then second venue like an adventure thing. But I just think you don't need to do that. If you're a high value guy, think of Brad Pitt pre him giving up booze, maybe. What would he be doing if he invited a girl out on a date? Would he really take them for a hike, or is he just going to sit in a bar or a coffee shop and get to know them, be flirty, and just try and go for it quite quickly? Let's be honest. What's he going to do? So it's almost like have that very hypothetical alpha male mindset. Even if you're not really that guy, what would the alpha guy do? What's DiCaprio going to do? Is he really going to take them on a hike?
Probably not. Well, okay. So I suppose Cole still would say, yeah, but this is stuff you might be doing anyway. So obviously you go to the gym most days. But would you take a girl on a workout?
For a first date? No, it's a ridiculous thing. Like, we're trying to do an activity whilst I'm trying to flirt with her.
Yeah,
it's exactly why I don't like to walk with women during an approach, because they're not really paying you full attention. Yeah. You want her full undivided attention.
Yeah, so I think the first date is drinks. You know, you get her out, take her to a bar, like a lounge place like this. You sit down, you give her one drink, maximum 2 drinks. You sit there, you give her, full attention. Her full attention is on you. You try and move things forward. If it's not happening, then you either just cut it off dead or you postpone for the next time. I think that's the.
I agree.
I just keep it quick.
It makes your your killer instinct taking ability, your social skills a lot better when there's no distractions and you're sitting with a woman. And it's you versus her, because women are incredibly socially switched on. They're very good game players, and if you can hold your own and seduce her, that's just a lot of amazing skill, isn't it?
Yeah.
And the way to practice that is by doing it, not distracting yourself.
The most conducive environments I found for making this work for seduction are just basically lounge bars, to be honest. Particularly a lounge bar where you've got a sofa, you guys, or a couch, you guys can sit next to each other. Some nice low lighting, bit of music, whatever. It does what it says on the tin. It is a safe pair of hands.
Where is Cole? Guy had some stones. He will be back. We're going to be back in Russia in about 10 days' time. We're going to be reunited with Cole in the area with the most supermodels in Russia. Secret area. If anyone can guess it, you're welcome to join us for free and do 5 hours of coaching for free if you can guess the area and get to Russia. No chance you'll be able to. Can't you talk and flirt while you're doing the activity? I mean, you're trying to do 3 things at once: talk, flirt, and do the activity. Are men good at multitasking? Maybe. I just think it puts undue pressure on it. And also, what if you turn up and you just don't get on? You're stuck doing some fucking activity with someone that you don't give a monkey's about.
I'm just trying to think about this as fairly as I can, because say we go to the gym every day, you can argue, all right, so I'm a high value man, I've got a lot of time. Why should I spend 2 hours or an hour and a half sitting with this girl in the evening? She could just come along to the workout and we can do that.
I get that logic. I
get the logic, but it just... I don't know, man. It just doesn't. I just can't really see it working. It's just not very sexy. For a start, you're looking like crap because you're wearing your workout gear. She's going to be wearing her workout gear. You might be a bit sweaty.
What about if you're, say, going shopping, right? You had to buy some new jeans, so you just dressed quite well. You're going to some nice department stores like Hackett. Maybe she could help you. She could give you some advice, maybe.
That is possible, and that actually is something that people. I think even Torero used to talk about.
There we go. Where we need coming up on some stage. Went 47 minutes without mentioning him.
Shopping maybe, but again, I just prefer to keep it very focused. I think
I do as well, because it also doesn't confuse the girl. It's like, okay, let's meet for a drink, and then you're sat there, and she knows what's up.
Yeah, and you try to escalate. You give her, you throw out the lines to her. If you're being flirtatious, you're doing a bit of touching, you're giving the opportunity for you guys to go somewhere private together. If she doesn't want to accept that, that's fine. But it's all very clear cut, isn't it?
And also the good thing about that is, especially if you're doing it in, say, you set it up in your hotel, like we've got a nice bar in the hotel, which is something we always look for. Basically, it goes on, and if it doesn't work, you just go up to your room and carry on with whatever you're doing.
Yeah.
And it's like you haven't really lost any time.
What about if you're getting a cavity filled? Because I've got to go back to London to get a cavity filled. So I could multitask that and have a date at the same time. Because it's like, I'm high value. I haven't got time for these, to be sitting around with these hoes in bloody hotel bars. She can come along to my cavity filling with me.
You don't look bad in your workout gear if you're the type of guy who's working out with girls on the first date. You might be the most known guy in the gym and look great, but it's a bit pose.
I'm just trying to think. I mean, like the gym I normally go to in London, you've got some very jacked guys, some of the instructors there.
What is a circumstance we can think of where it actually would be better to get some activity? I mean, I can't. If you're a promoter and you're running a club night, you could say get six or seven girls down who you know are all interested in you, and you could be the sociable guy, and you're actually going to build more value doing that, flirting with all these different girls. So it might actually be an activity that would be conducive. But apart from that, I don't really know. Is there any?
I don't know. Well, just try and see if it works. You know, maybe it's a good. Maybe it will work well for you. I just think personally, I'd rather do the workout stuff. You know, that's part of the daily routine. Get that stuff done. Meet her in a nice social environment. Give it a crack. Doesn't need to take too long. Hour and a half. And then leave it at that. That just seems to be the most straightforward method.
I would agree with you. Any final thoughts? I think we're going to wrap it up. We've been going 50 minutes.
Well, obviously we were talking about pay for play.
Yeah. So to summarize, is it okay? Everything is okay in moderation, I believe.
And don't be so judgmental about other people.
Live and let live, and you know, there's that whole adage, isn't there, of don't judge someone until you walked 1,000 miles in their shoes. And
exactly.
We can never really judge anyone because everyone is completely different. They have a unique lens and perspective on the world. They have a unique series of circumstances and genetics and genes. And yes, there are kind of patterns. Again, if you're only going out and banging pros and you want to get good at cold approach, yes, it will be detrimental. But if you want to just fuck around in your own time,
who cares? And let's just recognize that the logic that if you're somebody who's ever done pay for play, then therefore you must be no good at game is flawed. It's inherently flawed. It's not like that. In fact, actually, it might be that the inverse is true, because many of the guys who are very, very successful in terms of dating, including Casanova himself, by the way, also did a whole shed load of pay for play. So
yeah, you look at your Jordan Belforts, you look at your Casanovas.
Yeah,
I mean, they bang reams of prostitutes, and again, we're not saying that's the only way, but we're also saying it's not the demon that is, you know, made it out to be necessarily.
Yeah,
the devil is in the detail. I'd almost say guys that are very, very anti-pro, like we tend to see with anything. If anyone keeps banging on about why it shouldn't be a thing, and it's like no one asks the question. No one asks the question. They just go, yeah, but prostitute's bad.
Yeah,
it's usually compensation or covering up for stuff they're doing, if we're being brutally honest about it. You know, we always see it, you know, when people feel the need to talk about stuff to the nth degree, it's because it's an issue in their own life, hence why they keep mentioning it. So I would just be Russell Brand as well. There you go.
Yeah, Russell Brand, you know, I mean, clearly a man who is very, very skilled.
Massively skilled,
and
massively sexy, has slept with thousands of very attractive women, and he's still banging pros. There you go. But equally, what we're not saying is don't feel bad if you're not banging prostitutes. This isn't encouraging you to go out and do it either, but it's just we get this asked question a lot. Like, this was our attempt to answer,
yes,
in some format, what the gig is. On that note, it's been a pleasure.
Dos Vidania,
and this is our final day in Russia. We're going to try and get out later and just do at least a half an hour live stream on TikTok. We'll then cross-upload it to YouTube later. Hot and Steamy, thank you very much for your donation. And we will try and do one tomorrow as well. The only red eye flight. This is going on for some time. This is not